Hey there, everybody. Today we're going to look at how to make a mold for bending guitar sides. This is for an acoustic guitar. And what we're going to do is we're going to laminate a bunch of pieces of MDF together using these alignment holes here, just the two of them. The one in my right hand is the template, the master, and then I'll copy that onto the other 7 pieces of MDF. And I'm using 3/4 inch holes and 3/4 inch pins to line everything up perfectly. To do this, you're going to need some tools, so let's have a look at that right now. You need a hammer, you'll also need a couple clamps to hold the master template and the new piece of MDF together. And you'll also need a square to make sure that your 2 pieces are square to the bottom. You'll need an awl, brad point awl, to transfer some, or actually enlarge in some holes. You'll need something to create a hole or a mark for you to see your pins. I'm using a 3/8 inch drill bit here, brad awl again, and then I also have 2 pins made from 3/8 steel here. And in my drill press here, I have a 3/8 bit as well, another smaller brad point bit there. And you can also see my pin router set up as well that I'm going to use to bring everything down to size later. It's a little messy here today. I've been doing a lot of these. There's a lot of dust in the air, as you can see. So if you're doing this and you're using MDF or just anything really, always a good idea to wear a lot of protection. So yeah, first thing you want to do is align your 2 templates. And what I'm doing here is I'm putting 1 clamp at either end, pretty not too hard yet, so that I can move the 2 pieces of MDF to get them straight up and down. And I also have another piece of MDF that I'm doing all this on because I know it's straight. And I also want to check to make sure there's a bit of overlap between the bigger piece and the smaller piece. The template is smaller and I want to be able to remove material all around the MDF that I'm using. Here I'm just checking for square. If it's out a little bit, you can use a hair to tap, or you can just use your hands to move things until it's square. Right now I can see there's a little bit of a gap on the one side, so I'll use my hammer to bring it into square. There, if one side's good, usually the other side's good. So now we can put more pressure on the lamps to squeeze everything a little bit more. And now we're going to transfer the location of the 2 screw holes. And like I said, I just have some extra long drill bits that I use for this. This has a brad point on it, and I'll just use it to locate the hole. And it's good to check to make sure that you're square with everything as well. There we go. And then you want to make sure you have a good sized hole that you can see. But we're going to go back on those little marks and we'll make them bigger with the brad awl, so that when we bring it to the drill press, it's easier to see and easier to make sure you're on the right place. So I've got 2 little dots here now from the drill bit. And here I'm just going to make those marks more visible. There we go. So I'll bring it over to the drill bit and here I have a 3/8 drill bit installed in the press. I've also got a backer board, so I don't put out too much on the backside. If you do punch out, if you forget to put a backer board on, it's good idea to level that up again, because it'll deform the hole a little bit. Number one. Hole number two. Alright, so now I have 2 holes in my master template and 2 corresponding holes in the new piece that I'm going to cut, and I'm just going to drift these pins in. These pins are the final pins that I'll be using for the entire mold. So they're quite long for this, but they'll be the full length of the entire thing. Another thing too, later on you'll see that they make good handles for your routing. Now here, if your drill press is straight up and down and well squared, then you won't have any problems here. As you can see, both my pins are perfect. So pins going through just a little bit on the template, and then I'll be able to take the piece that's sticking out and locate that on the new piece that I'm going to be bringing down to size. And then I'll put those all the way through. And it's also a good idea to make sure that your 2 templates are touching. Sometimes one can be lifted a little bit, so you want to make sure that both of them are squeezed together pretty well. So here both pins are flush to the bottom, but I do want to bring them up a little bit so they don't lift up the template or the bottom MDF when I'm doing the pin routing. So I'll just turn it around and make sure that I have room make sure that they're not poking through, and maybe bring something out a square. So I'm just using a nail punch here that's smaller than the rod to push it through. Right now, like, my square is pushing up against the rod that's sticking out, and now there's a bit of a recess there, and I can move that square across it. Alright, so let's go to the router table. Alright, so this is my pin router setup here. It's the thing in the middle where the hammer is now. Basically it's just a router and a pin that is on an arm up top there. I use this to copy templates, but you can also use just a normal router table with a bearing bit, a straight bit with a bearing on it. That can work as well. I just like the setup and I'm used to it now. Before I use it, I always check to make sure that my pin and my bits are exactly centered. And dust collection here is very important, but there's still going to be a lot of MDF dust in the air, so once again, protection is very important. And this is 3/4 MDF, and I'm doing a full pass on it. So it's a lot for this router. It'll be a lot for any router, I think. So it's good to go slowly. You don't want to take too much off at a time, because you'll always be able to come back later. You're not really saving any time if you're doing a full pass. So now it's snowing in my shop. It's all from all the dust from the MDF. Even with my sort of crude dust collection, there's a lot of dust up there. go in one final cleanup pass to make sure that everything's hunky-dory. There we have it. Our bottom piece of MDF is now the same size as the template, along the outside and also along the bottom. Later, when I glue up my sandwich, you'll see that it's all the same size. One thing to note about this way of making your side bending mold is that I also made an outside mold, and I used a bandsaw to cut out those pieces, and what I was left over with were these pieces here. They were a little rough and they were a little undersized for the final mold, by about 4 millimeters. So what I'm going to do is, once this is glued up and ready to go, I'm going to actually bend a piece of, I'm not quite sure, probably maple or something like that, that's 2 millimeters onto this sandwich here, or onto this mold, and that'll bring it to the final size that I need. And here you can see everything's square, everything's pretty much exactly the same.